Hello, my name is JoAnn Paradise, and together today we're going to explore the world of spirituality. That world begins for me oftentimes on an evening at home with my husband, when he begins his nightly excursion into watching one of those wonderful murder mysteries. And about 20 minutes into that television program, he'll look up and say, "I'm hungry for something good." That begins a trip to the pantry, and in the pantry begins a search for something salty or something sweet or something chocolate or something not. And then he sits down in his chair, eats that, and a few minutes later says, "Oh, that wasn't it." The next moment, he's up, back into the refrigerator this time, beginning that same kind of search. And as he searches through the refrigerator and finds what he thinks he wants, comes back to that chair and again says, "That wasn't it." That's an image that I like to remember when I think about spirituality, because spirituality is much like that thirst, much like that hunger for something that we're not sure what it is that we need. Some people use the word spirituality to describe a process by which they contact something beyond themselves. Some people use the word spirituality when they say it in a phrase that says something like, "Well, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual." And actually, people use that word to mean all kinds of different things. Today, we're going to think about what it means to talk about Catholic Christian spirituality. And we're going to start with that word spirituality to begin with. What does it mean for us? Well, we believe as Catholic Christians that spirituality is the very ache in us, the very longing in us that causes us to reach out beyond our own selves. That dis-ease that we feel when the world just cannot satisfy. There was a song so long ago that my mother used to hum around the house that said, "Is that all that there is?" And it was a song that lamented about a love that someone had, and after she experienced it, she felt unsatisfied. Spirituality for us is that unsatisfiedness, that place in us where God invites us to look beyond our own experience, beyond ourselves, into His life and into a relationship with Him. We do not choose to have a spirituality. We may choose the path our spirituality takes, but we are all imbued by the very person of God with a spirituality that calls us out beyond ourselves. That dis-ease and that hunger makes us yearn for something more. That yearning causes us to look beyond our lived experience into something more than we know at this present moment. We are not human beings who are trying to be spiritual. We are spiritual beings who attempt to be human. Our spirituality is a gift from God, and the question that we ask is, what do we do with that disease? What do we do with that hunger? You know, the church even acknowledges in many different ways how people search to live out that hunger or that search for meaning. The Pontifical Council for Interreligious Dialogue says it this way: the church's members need to understand the often silent cry in people's hearts, which lead them elsewhere, perhaps outside of our own tradition. Or Pope John Paul II, in speaking to pastors, said this: "Pastors must honestly ask whether they have paid sufficient attention to the thirst of the human heart for the true living water which only Christ our Redeemer can give." It is the pastoral responsibility of the church to help people to discipline, to help people to direct their spirituality. The habits and disciplines we use to shape our desire are, in fact, what we call our spirituality. And we are asked in our Catholic tradition to root ourselves ever more deeply in the fundamentals of our faith that would help us to channel or to contain those desires, to discipline them in a way that would allow us to reach beyond ourselves. The fundamental root of our faith that we need to consider when we're thinking about what it means to be spiritual is that we are creatures. Because we are creatures, we are dependent. And because we are dependent, it is our responsibility to discover that we have a created order. You know, when we were trying to teach that once to some 7th graders, we invited them to take a place outside and take different instruments that we gave them. One of them got a cell phone, one of them got a spoon, one of them got a spade, one of them got a hammer. And we said that we were about to have a contest to figure out who could dig the deepest hole in a certain amount of time. As they began to dig, it was very clear that the people who had the wrong instruments were not being very successful. And the person who had the thing created to dig a hole, the spade, was doing a much better job. And 30 seconds into that experience, they started whining, the ones with the wrong instruments. This isn't fair. My spoon broke. This isn't fair. This cell phone's not made to make this hole. It was a way to help them to understand that we don't create ourselves. We discover what we were created for. In God's mind and heart, we have a purpose. We have an intention. What God discerns about what it means to be human and how we live out our individual experience of that humanity is the journey of our spiritual life. We are not about creating our own spirituality because who we are as spiritual beings has been given to us as a gift from God. We can be like my husband, who searches all night long for the thing that will satisfy, and in the end say, that wasn't it. Or we can intentionally begin to look to where God has planted within us already the seeds of what it means to be His child, of what it means to be a person created in His image and likeness, and begin the life journey of living that out to our fullest.